Hey everybody, welcome back to my physical world and our Star Trek channel. And we continue our build on the Constitution class USS Enterprise 1701 from the original series. Remember last time we set up all of our drawings, and now if you remember, if you wanted to bring your source material, like this particular source material has all the different views, you can bring this into graphic software such as creat, which is a Photoshop clone that is also open source and free. You can bring that in and clip the image, save each view as its own file, and then set up your drawings. So just so know that you can do that. That way you don't have a whole bunch of unnecessary areas that you're working with. But for this tutorial or this build, this is just how I set it up. Alright, so what are we going to be doing today? First of all, what I'm going to be doing is turning on my keycasts so you can see what buttons and switches I'm using. Alright, I'm going to go to tilde and I'm going to go to the front view, which is F. Alright, remember we have our block, but now we don't need our block. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the box, the cube bar, it's more of a rectangle, and I am going to shift S and I'm going to move our cursor to the selected so it's right where we need it. So today we are going to work on the secondary hull. I'm not going to do a lot of detail in this episode, but I am going to get us started. All right, so basically the hull, the secondary hull, is pretty much a cylinder that tapers in different areas. This little feature in the back, the sweep of the hull underneath the shuttle hangar, is kind of unique. All right, so I have a different way that I'm going to make that, and I'll show you how I do that. But it has a flat bottom. Okay, it's not round, it's flat. Okay, and a couple things I want to show you on the image. Sorry for my cough, it'll probably happen a few times. All right, so I'm gonna hit the middle mouse button, hit shift, and we're gonna come down here in our, I don't need to do that. All I have to do is switch my view. I'm sorry. I'm going to go to tilde and I'm going to go right side because that's the back in this, the way that I have it set up. So if we look at the stern of the ship, all right, here is the radiation shield for the hangar. All right, this flat area is that curved part that I was telling you about with the flat bottom. The rear view of this drawing isn't all that great. All right, it doesn't really, looking at the drawing, it doesn't really line up with, it's not consistent. All right, so you have to know that when you're doing your, and this goes for if you're doing Microsoft Flight Simulator and you're doing aircraft and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes your drawings aren't perfect, but that's okay. We're all in this for a hobby and having fun. But you have to look and see if there's little quirkinesses here and there that you might have to adjust in your building of your model. All right, so I'm going to go to tilde F for the front view again, and what we're going to do is there's 3 primary axes that you're going to work on. and you're going to work with them independently. All right. So the secondary hull of the Enterprise or any Constitution ship, it is pretty much round. It's a cylinder from just in back of the initial frame of the what I want to say, the deflector base. Okay, the deflector shield base. Okay, all of these cross sections of this part of the hull, all the way back to this point right here, where it makes this little sweep. All of that are concentric circles in one way or the other. Okay, but they are not when it goes past this point because of this sweep. Okay, and I'm going to show you kind of a trick in order to get this to work. Instead of trying to model this one piece at a time, this rear portion, I'm going to show you a little trick that I'm going to use. All right, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to create a basic shape for our secondary hull. And that shape is basically going to be, I'm going to do a Shift A, and I'm going to add a mesh, and I'm going to add a cylinder. Now the cylinder is standing up, okay? So I need to rotate that on the y-axis. So I'm going to R, Y, 90 to set that on its side, okay? So if you look like that, all right? Hold the F, go back to front. Now we need to scale that so it kind of lines up with all of the features of our hull. So I'm going to hit S to scale. I'm going to bring that up. I want to do this. I need to turn on ghost mode so I can see our drawing. Confusion. Yeah, we've got a lot of drawings going on, so I'm going to turn some of them off. We don't need the top yet. We don't need the stern. We only need the port side for now. We'll turn those on as we need them. And okay, so we have a cylinder. All right, now you can't really see the cylinder very well because I am not in edit mode, and they'll show up a lot better. But we're gonna hit scale again. You can kind of see the kind of a white box there. All right, now to get a better idea, we know that this port about right here is the highest point of the diameter. So I'm going to move our rectangle, or I mean not a rectangle, we're going to move our hull cylinder. If you look at the left, you'll kind of see the white line on the left side kind of moving. I'm going to line that up to our starting point. Okay, and we have you can't see it on the screen. I know what I need to do. Let's turn down the opacity of our drawing. That way we can see our shape a little better. There we go. It kind of shows up a little better. All right, now I am there. Got it selected there. A little short here, so I'm going to move that up in the Z direction till that meets the bottom like that, and it almost meets the top here. All right, so what I could do is move Z, hold my shift key so my movements are controlled a little better. I'm going to move that down to here, and that lines up a lot better. All right, now let's go into edit mode by tab, and I'm going to go to vertex. I'm going to select these vertices right here, and I'm going to move those in the X direction to the right until they line up right here, right before the sweep underneath the hanger. All right. Now, now when you start forming your object, you're going to need some additional columns of vertices. All right, and that's basically done with loop cuts. Okay, and you can add them as you go. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to Control R. Oh, well, first I can select these vertices here, and we can go ahead and scale these. So they drop down a little bit. Okay, now hold my shift key here. Now, alright, so I want to get the distance between that top line and that bottom line where they almost match. The distance from here to here, I want that to be almost the same here. So you're going to be doing little adjustments here and there. So we're going to GZ to move that in the Z direction and slide that up till it meets there. So we're pretty close here. I can zoom in and fine tune it if I want to, which I do want to. So I'm going to scale that a little bit more. Hold my shift, scale that down. I'm going to scale it down there, and then I'm going to GZ, just move that up just a tad. There. So this vertex on the bottom is right at this corner, and then this one follows the top, almost the top of the black line. All right. Then I'm going to come over here. Okay. To the front, and notice that this line is a little bit to the left of that secondary hull, so, or the main part of the hull. So I'm going to GX, move that to the right a little bit. So we line that line up. Okay, now this vertex needs to be up here, and this vertex needs to be moved down a little bit. So I'm just going to scale that just a little bit. So the distance between this distance here is almost equal with this distance down here. All right, and then I'm going to GZ, move that up just a tad, just to line that up a little bit. Now I think that's going to be close enough for what we're doing. All right, now notice that now we have kind of like a large cone, right? But we start adding loop cuts and making adjustments to that basic shape. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control R, and it adds a loop cut. I'm going to click my mouse and then drag these down here. And I think I have snap on. All right. So we drop that there, and all we need to do is scale that. So S to scale. And then GZ, just move that down this just a tad. Okay. So that gives that basic shape there. Now I want to put another one right here where the dorsal support meets the secondary hull. So I'm going to Control R, click, drag that over. I got snap on, that's why it's snapping. And I'm going to click here for a second. I'm going to get a reference image other than the blueprint itself. See this little shadow right here? Where the dorsal comes and meets. Alright, I want to see if that's solid, and I can't remember if it is, so I'm going to bring up an image. And according to this image, it comes down to a sharp angle. Alright, for this drawing. Let me minimize this. I'm going to bring up another one. Let me bring up another. Let me pause and get another image. Okay, so I've got some pictures of the original. Looks like there might be a little curve there, and we can handle that later. It doesn't have to be perfect right off the bat when you're setting this up, but find pictures, find good reference images, and looking at all the little pieces, parts from the original series. Okay, so I'm going to make that a sharp intersection for now. Oops, I don't want to do that. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna make it a sharp intersection for now. All right. So with those lines, I'm gonna GX and move those till they meet right here. All right. And then I'm going to GZ. I'm going to move that down a little bit so those distances look the same. And we can zoom in. Okay. Let's GZ a little bit more so those distances are about the same. And then I'm going to scale those till they match. Yeah, see, I want to try to be consistent. I want to pick a spot. So these vertices here, I'm going to drop these down. GZ. Let me escape for a second. Turn off snapping. I don't need snapping yet. All right, so GZ, and I'm going to bring those down to here. All right. And then I'm going to scale again, and I'm going to use the bottom and the top of the black line as a reference. Okay, try to get as close to the top and close to the bottom as I can. All right, so I need to do the same with these. GZ, move all those vertices down, and then I'm going to scale. Okay, so it's looking better. All right. I need to drink coffee. All right. So we're going to add some more here. So we're going to do another Control R. Whoops. That didn't work. Did it? No, that didn't work. Not yet. There. Got to click that screen. All right. So Control R. There's our loop cut. Slide that down to, let's generalize really quick. Let's put that there. GZ, move those down where those distances are almost the same. So right there. And then scale. Bring those up. Okay. And we can add, now here's another thing. You can Control R, get the loop cut going, but before you click, you turn your mouse wheel and add sections. All right, so I have 4, I think, and then escape so we don't move them. See how they're okay? So I have more. Alright, then I'm going to select these, GZ, move those down where those top and bottom distances are roughly the same, and then scale. Now just so you know, I'm using S to scale on this side view, instead of using S and then the axis that you want to scale it. And the reason I'm doing that with this is because it's circular all the way through this piece of the model. These are concentric circles from this point down to this point. Now when I get when I go to the top view and make it the right width all the way down, because it tapers at the top, it tapers in. Okay, then I'm only going to be working with one. Only going to be scaling one axis of it. Okay, but to get the cylinder look, I'm scaling in all dimensions. Okay, all right, so let's keep working here. Let's select these, GZ, move those down where they're almost equal, scale with the S, bring those up, and that is looking just fine. And then this one here, we can just GZ and move that up. That right there, and then scale it. And the same with all the rest of them, GZ. Now, a lot of times I'll probably pause videos to do some repetitive stuff off camera, so you guys can not be so bored. Alright, and we'll be doing that a lot when I get going here. So GZ, I'm going to move this up, and then scale, and then these last ones should be almost on. Alright, so let's turn off ghost mode and look at our model, and that is the basic shape of that secondary hull to begin with. Alright, so tilde F. Now, for the next part, now what you could do is, there I got a little dip right here. So see how this kind of goes down and then kind of comes up. Alright, so I need to get this a little better. So turn my ghost back on, select these vertices here, and we are going to, let's scale. Okay, and zoom in here, and then I'm going to GZ move those up just a tad. So that takes care of that little dip that we had right here. But I still don't like that. I'm going to scale it down a little bit. I think that's better because it kind of follows the top of that black line, which is what I was looking for. Alright, now we need to do a save. Alright, so we have the basic shape of our main part of the secondary hull. Alright, now we need to work on this back part. Alright, so a little trick, and this is where it gets wonky because that back view isn't perfect. Alright, tilde F, go to the front. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select these end vertices, and I'm going to E for extrude, and I'm going to extrude those until they get to right down here, this part of the hangar bay. Okay, right here, because from right here to right here, it's consistently the same radius. Alright, so what I want to do next is I want to scale that. Let's do it this way. Let's do a GZ and move this up so our distances are the same. Let me show you how I'm going to do that. So GZ, let's do this again. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I could probably go up a little bit more. And then scale. And drop those down. And GZ is up a little bit. Let's zoom in. Almost there. Probably move that down just a bit. And then scale. Okay. So it kind of looks like this. Alright. Now let's get out of edit mode for a second. And let's turn off our port side image. Take a look at our model. Okay. Now, in the real world, so to speak, in the science fiction real world, the Enterprise bottom of this area is not round like that. It's flat. It's that sweep. It has a flat bottom in the back. All right. Now you can have the headache of trying to literally model that, but I find another way easier. Hold the F to get a side view. Find another way easier to do. All right, and what I'm going to do first is let's turn off Ghost, tab into edit mode, and actually that is solid. All right, you need this to be a solid feature. So if it's not solid, you're going to select all these vertices and you're going to hit F to put a face on the end, and the same way with the front. But since we started with a cylinder and we extruded it, it automatically put that face on the end. All right, now here's the trick to make this sweep. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to select this bottom vertice, okay, which is selecting the bottommost vertice of that circle at the bottom. Till the F, go to side view, and I'm going to shift S, and I'm going to move our cursor to selected. So it selects, it makes our 3D cursor show up at that spot, because when you add a new object, it always adds the object where the cursor is. Alright, so tilde F, get that front view again. Now I'm going to get out of the edit mode, and with our 3D cursor here, I'm going to shift A, and I'm going to add a mesh, and I'm going to add a single vertex. So it's right here, and automatically goes into edit mode for that vertice. Okay, now we're just going to do a series of extrudes, because you can extrude a vertice. So I'm going to extrude this vertice, make sure snap is off, and I'm going to extrude it to here, and then I'm just going to hit a series of extrudes and add, try to make this curve. Alright, so I'm just hitting a series of E's to try to make this shape. Alright, and I'm going to zoom in here a little bit, because I think I'm getting off. Alright, so I'm going to select this vertice and I'm going to move it. So I want to be consistent and go to the bottom of the black line. That way I have a better target to use as a reference. So we're going to go to the black line. Alright, so we got this last one, so I'm going to hit E to add another one. And so I'm just going to keep doing that till I get to this point right here. So I'll finish that, be right back. Now I made a whole bunch. Now I have one more to do. So I'm going to turn snap on. Okay, and I'm going to extrude and snap to that vertice that's on that end piece. Okay, so I hit enter. I mean, I don't hit enter, I just click. Now if we zoom out and let's get out of ghost mode, it snapped to this corresponding vertice on our end circle, right? Okay, so let's go back to ghost, tilde F to side view. All right, now for this particular model, for this particular piece that I'm making now, I want to overshoot it. Okay, so I'm going to hit an E again, and I'm going to go to X direction, and I'm going to slide it past our ship. Alright, now I want to extrude this to be equal, to be even with this one down here with snap on. I'm going to E Z, and it allows me to move down, just down, straight down, but I want to snap to this location over there. Alright, so I just select the vertice that I want it to line up with, and it adds it straight across from this one. Alright, now with this vertice and this vertice, our first and last, I select them both with the shift and click, and then I hit F, and that closes that. Alright, now now I'm going to switch to edge mode. I'm going to hit A to select all the edges, and I'm going to hit F again to fill in that with a face. Okay, so let's tab out of edit mode, and let's get out of, and let's turn off our image here for a second. So now I just have a flat plane in that shape, right? Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to use this shape to cut this shape. Alright, but this also needs to be a 3D solid for this to work. So into edit mode, I'm going to go to face select this face, and I'm going to extrude it in this Y direction. So extrude Y, or EY, and then slide that past our model like this. Okay, then I'm going to select this face and do the same, except go this direction. So EY, and move that over here. Okay, see how that works? And I will be right back. I'm going to show you something. So what we're getting ready to do is cut the hull in this area to make that flat sweep. Alright, now I'm going to show you using the Enterprise Alpha 1701A. Alright, 1701 refit and 1701 Alpha basically has the same shape in an essence to the original series. Alright, yeah, there was a lot of refit to it, but if you look at this part right here, if I can show you, okay, the ship has this sharp edge right here around this area, and then it starts to curve up like this. All right, you can try to model that, but it takes a lot of, you would have to create a circle, flip it, and then map the vertices. But I find cutting the model like I'm getting ready to show you is a lot easier to do. Alright, so this is what we're getting ready to cut out. Alright, so we have our cut piece. I'm not sure if my cut piece is correct or not, so I might have to redo that here for a second. Let me go to tilde F, and let's turn on our port side image, turn on ghost mode, and to be honest, Let me look at something and make sure that I got this right. I did make one mistake. All right, but not on my cut piece. My cut piece is correct. All right, so I'm going to tab out. I'm going to tab out of edit mode, and I'm going to select our cylinder again. All right, and I am going to, because if you look at the model here, sorry, but that's all part of it. All right, let's turn off our image. See how it's round down here? Okay, that can't be round. All right, this needs to be a half, almost like a half circle right here. All right, in the back. All right, so if I show you the model, this part right here in the very back is kind of a half circle. All right, it doesn't curve down here at the bottom. So I need to make this back here, this circle, bigger in order to make this feature work. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tab into edit mode, turn on vertices, and I'm going to go to ghost mode, select these vertices. All right, I'm going to turn off ghost mode. And I am going to tilde F, turn all this stuff back on, which, all right. And what I want to do is I'm going to move in the Z, I'm going to move this down. This vertice right here, that vertice right there is the center. All right, and that center needs to be down here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all these vertices, keep my eye on this vertice, and move it down here, and then I'm going to rescale it. So I'm going to G, Z, move this down where that center vertice is right there. Hopefully. Right about there. Let's zoom in a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty close. Then I'm going to scale again with a S and scale until that top vertice meets the top of our hull. Like this. See it? Right up here. So here's the center of this circle, and that is down here, right here. Okay? This is a half circle. All right. Now, if I zoom out and we turn off our image and turn on solid, see how that looks? Okay. Now, notice that it's wide. All right. So we need to scale from the top in the Y direction. All right. So what we're going to do is turn on our top and turn on ghost, and I'm going to tilde T, and I'm going to scale this in the Y direction. Okay, so I'm going to S, Y, and I'm going to bring these in like this. Okay, now before we cut our shape, we have to finalize our shape of our hull from the top. Okay, so we want to make sure that our lines, our vertices are lined up with the actual shape of the ship. All right, so these vertices here are a little off. Now, I'm only going to concentrate on this top line. And the reason I'm going to only concentrate, make sure that they're lined up with this top line, because eventually I'm going to select half of this ship, half of the hull, and I'm going to delete it. Okay. Then I'm going to add a mirror modifier to it so it's symmetrical. So that makes it, you'll see what I'm talking about in the next video. All right. So here I'm going to select this row, and I'm only going to scale it so this vertex matches up here. All right. So I got them all selected. Hit S Y to only scale on the Y. That didn't work. Oh, let's try this again. S Y. Move that where they match, right there. Okay. Now let's go into 3D. Okay, something like that. Now let's go into let's go to the stern view. See how we look there. Tilde R is the stern view. Okay, and we notice that this and this vertex is just a little too wide. Okay, so let's go here. A lot of trial and error. It really is. There's nothing wrong with that. Tilde R for the rear view. Now, like I said, looking at the drawing, the rear view of this model, of this drawing, isn't perfect. All right. Matter of fact, this line right here in the side view is right in the back of the what is that? That's the the guidance sensor or whatever. What do they call that? Can't remember. You'd think I would know this. Homing beacon. Alright. Alright, so on the side view, if we look at the side view, even though that this is not the picture, here's the homing beacon, and this line almost lines up with this side of the homing beacon in the rear, in the stern of the homing beacon. Right? And if we notice that that line that we have selected is actually in back of it. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale this one more time in this view. I'm just going to hit scale, and I'm going to drop that till it's closer. Okay, probably about like, if I match it perfectly, then it's going to be off somewhere else. So I'm going to basically pick a point. Alright. Alright, let's turn off ghost. Let's go tilde F. Okay. And that should get us what we're looking for right there. Should get us what we're looking for. Alright. So let's get out of edit mode. And let me turn off the stern picture. And let's turn off the top and turn back on our port side image. Alright. Now notice, like I said, since I matched it with the stern, it doesn't line up with the port side. Alright, so sometimes you have to make your best guess with some of these drawings. Alright, but we got the basic shape, and I think that's going to work just fine. Alright, to be honest with you. So I think we're ready to cut. Alright, so let's turn off port side picture. And so I don't mess anything up, what I'm going to do is with this cylinder, and we're going to call this secondary hull. Okay, and we're going to call this cut 1. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of both of these. So I'm going to select the secondary hull, shift, select the cut 1, and I'm going to shift D and escape, and now I have a copy of each one of those. Alright, but I'm going to turn off 001 of the hull and 001 of the cut. They're just copies, just in case I mess something up. Then I don't have to recreate the entire hull. Alright, now to make a cut, we are going to select our cut piece, hold shift, select our secondary hull, and then I'm going to use the right side control key and hit the minus on my numpad. And notice that it makes the cut. Alright, now also notice that it left this part, right? So what I need to do is make our cut piece deeper this way in the Z direction. So I'm going to hit Control Z. Okay, so I hit Control Z, and with my cut piece selected, I'm going to go into edit mode, go to face select, select these 2 bottom faces, and extrude those down, just so they're bigger than that area. Alright, then I'm going to tab out, and then I don't need to make a copy because I can recreate that part that I just did pretty darn easy. Alright, so with cut 1 selected, hold shift, select your hull, right side control key and the minus at the same time, and we cut our ship just like that. See how that works? Okay, then we can turn off our cut. Now this is a modifier. Now if you look over here in the wrench for modifier, there is a Boolean modifier. If you like what you have, then all you'll need to do is apply that. Alright, and then that becomes part of this shape. Alright, so I think I'm going to end this video here, and we will, on the next video, we'll work on this rear portion to get this curve at the back and get this little flare that's in the image. So let me tilde F. We're going to work on this little part right here, and we're going to get this little landing shelf of the shuttle bay right down here with its curve as well, right here. Okay, so we're going to be doing that on the next video. So I hope you found this useful, and we will continue on at the next video. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and hit that notification bell. And if you feel inclined to support me, buymeacoffee.com/myphysicalworld, and I will see you guys in the next video. See you later.